Greetings to one and all from Rosie's Dog Beach. It's a wonderful Friday evening, beautiful sunset, and I am making this video live and on the scene of some serious dog fun. I always get a kick out of being out here. So the purpose of this video is to contribute my thoughts on how to restore the folks' faith in our election process, in the integrity of our vote, and simplifying the whole process by effectively going back to the basics. My whole theme about everything has been basically get back to the basics and try to simplify and reduce the amount of corruption involved in all this stuff by taking all of these steps away that make it more and more complicated and easier to fiddle with. So I think as far as our elections go, we need to restore the fundamentals here by combining the paper ballot with technology in the form of using our paper ballots to submit our choices and limiting the technology to what amounts to bookkeeping. And as a visual reference, I think the simplest example is something like this. You can fill out a lottery ticket, you can fill out an election ballot. And I think in the same fashion that you submit your lottery ticket, we should submit our ballots to the point that, first of all, let me back up a little bit. I think that mail-in and absentee ballots need to be eliminated, except under very strict and certain circumstances, such as if you're in the military and you're serving somewhere outside of the country, or you have a disability that prohibits you from going to the polls. Going to the polls is something sacred. It's not just a right, it's a duty. And I think everyone is taking for granted this idea of a leisurely election process, and they're not taking their responsibilities seriously. I think everyone should basically make it a personal duty to show up at the polls and vote. With all of this hemming and hawing about the election counting and investigations and all of this, I see two sides of this story where people want to be lazy about how they vote, but they want to get all in a big tizzy about the results. It's just ridiculous. So my thoughts on this are, look at this dog. How cute. This is just like the best scene. So I'm going to stay with the pooches here for a moment. So I think we need to simplify the process. Whereas I do believe you should have to present a valid identification when you register and when you vote. You go to the polls, you fill out your ballot, you pick your choices. I think an effort should be made by the county clerks and the Secretary of State's office to remind everybody of the election process and how there's a lot more involved than just going and checking a box. You need to be aware of who the candidates are. You need to be aware of additional information that is available at the polling places, such as who the write-in candidates are. Many people don't even know that there's other choices for many offices, people who chose to be write-in candidates for various reasons. And there's a list that should be presented at the polling place informing you of who your other choices are, the write-in candidates, for example. So I think a public awareness outreach should be exercised to remind people of the other various facets involved in voting, particularly when you go to the polling places. I recall when I campaigned for Congress as a write-in candidate, I went to probably 5 different polling locations here in my area, and only one of them had the list of write-in candidates presented. The rest of them didn't even receive it. And most of the poll workers didn't even know what it was all about. So that ought to tell you something. So basically, back to the process. You show up at the polling place, you get your ballot, you pick your choices. You may perhaps write in a choice. Then you take your ballot to the poll worker, you give it to them. They put it in the poll machine. You present your ID. An image is presented on the screen of your ballot and your identification. And it gives you the opportunity to correct any potential errors. You submit your ballot, and then you keep your ballot. You take it home with you. I think one of the ways to remove a lot of this potential confusion and an added layer of ways for them to manipulate the vote is by having everyone actually keep their ballot. And if there's ever any controversy or question, the public can be requested to submit their ballots for review. So I'm just throwing all this stuff out there for people to consider. I think we need to refresh our memories on how vitally important voting is. I think that you should be a legitimate citizen and be able to prove that when you vote. But I also think that we need to keep our ballots, if only to ensure less shenanigans. So I just wanted to submit all this while I had the time and wish everyone out there the best. I'm again urging everyone to support Sheriff Bianco for governor and Sheriff Villanueva for sheriff. As far as my campaign for lieutenant governor goes, that's still a question at this point, but we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah. So, simplify, take a lot of the questions out of it, and try to restore some integrity in our process. All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Take care. See you later. It is indeed a beautiful evening.